This is Heather with What's the 411, and today we're going to be talking about pressure cookers with my handy dandy Instant Pot here. But before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to all the people who discovered the channel and took time to write a question or just give me some feedback and like and subscribe. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. God bless you. So, today's episode is going to be a little different because last week I was corresponding with someone who took the time to tell me that they have an Instant Pot and they've had it in their cupboard, still in the box, for months now, and they're a little afraid to use it. And to be honest with you, that's not the first time I've heard it. So I thought, today, we're going to unpack pressure cookers and how they work using my handy dandy Instant Pot duo here to kind of orient you to pressure cooking and why you should have one and why they're great. And hopefully, my goal is that by the end of this episode, you will not be afraid of your Instant Pot if you've already purchased one, and that you will break it out and use it. And if you've been thinking about getting a pressure cooker, but you've heard horror stories or you've experienced a horror story with your grandmother's old pressure cooker that blew up all over the kitchen on the stove, by the end of this, you'll know this is not that. And you will be comfortable to make a decision to go ahead and bite the bullet and buy one. Because once you pressure cook, you won't go back. I can speak for myself and tell you that I certainly have. I actually own 2 Instant Pots and another brand pressure cooker. So I have 3 of them. And just to let you know how much I love them, I cooked one Thanksgiving dinner entirely in my pressure cooker from start to finish, including the dessert. I made a chocolate cheesecake in my pressure cooker that was fabulous. So, the first thing I thought I'd do is kind of orient you to the pressure cooker itself, how it works, and its parts. Okay, so this is our duo here, and the first thing I want to show you, and I've kind of taken it apart here. This is your 6-quart inner pot. Okay. So you can get a lot in here. Okay. And it also comes with a rack. Okay, that fits inside. And what's great about it is that you can actually cook things in layers. So you can cook 2 things at the same time. And then you also get a lovely cup. This is just your measuring cup for your liquid. And then I have it over here, but you also get, let me just reach over and grab it, a spoon. Okay. So that's what you get in your pack up. Now, I think what frightens most people about the pressure cookers is the lid, because I think a lot of people have had or heard stories about the stovetop pressure cooker exploding and it's just scarred them for life, and so they're just turned off and don't want to try. So what I thought I'd do is I have a lid here, and I want to kind of show you how it works. And this is from the other Instant Pot that I own, which is the Viva. Okay, and you see this, I'm trying to see if you see this right here that I'm just kind of moving around this little knob. Okay, that's your pressure valve. Okay, this is your little pressure valve. All right, and this is what you turn. It goes in two ways. This way is venting, and that's how you release the pressure after it's done. And this is sealing, okay? And that's how you seal your pot when it's building pressure, okay, at the start of the cycle. And then there's this pen down here. You see that kind of hole? You can kind of see a little silver thing. Um, when it's in the off position or not building pressure, it's down. And then when the pressure builds up, it pops up. Okay. Now, there's a safety mechanism that's built into all electric pressure cookers. Okay. And that is this. If you fill your pot and you put on the lid incorrectly, it is not going to work. I don't care what you try to do, it's not going to work. Okay, that's a safety mechanism, and they do that purposely so that you know, okay, wait a minute, something's wrong. And in fact, until you actually put on the lid properly, that's the only time it's going to come on. Okay? So, you no longer have to worry about, and excuse my arm there, you no longer have to worry about your pressure cooker exploding because the lid wasn't on properly or just got overpowered. That's not going to happen with these things, okay? So I just want to allay that fear for you right then and there. Okay, so, and you may be wondering, okay, Heather, well, how do they actually work? And here's how they work. Pressure cookers cook your food by converting boiling water to steam. And it can be boiling water or any liquid, okay? So it doesn't necessarily have to be water, but I use water because most people know that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you continue to allow it to boil and you have a way to kind of trap the steam, which is a wonderful conductor of heat, will cook your food extremely fast while retaining all the moisture. Okay? So think of a pressure cooker as a steam trap, because literally when this lid locks, that's what it's doing. It is trapping or preparing to trap all of the steam that's going to be converted from the boiling water and then cook your food. Okay? So, for pressure cooking in an Instant Pot requires at least 1 cup of liquid. Okay? So, you can use water, but I myself like to use broth, or if I do use water, I'll put 2 teaspoons of better than bouillon. Sometimes I'll also use marinade, because when you are pressure cooking, during the process of pressure cooking, your food is being infused with all of the flavor, that you've imparted into the water or for whatever liquid that you're using. Okay? So I tend to use liquid that's going to impart additional flavor to my food. Now, I just told you that Instant Pot requires at least 1 cup of water, at the very least. But more often than not, you're going to use more than 1 cup of water. Not always, but more often than not. It really is dependent on the type of food that you're cooking and the weight of that food. Okay, like for instance, a couple days ago, I just cooked a meatloaf in my pressure cooker, and it only required 1 cup of water. So I put 1 cup of, actually, I used beef broth and also some barbecue sauce. Okay, that's what I used as my liquid. Okay, now Um, if you're new to pressure cooking, or if you've not pressure cooked a whole lot, you're wondering, okay, well, how do I know how much water to put in? I can understand weight. I can read the weight right off the package, but I've never done this, Heather. And how do I, figure out how much water, um, to put in? Well, here's what I did. Now I'm going to recommend this, and I'm not getting any type of payoff or any type of thing. I don't know Bob Warden personally, anything like that. But when I started out, I bought a book. I bought this book um, from Bob Warden, not only because it has great pressure cooker recipes in it, but because in the back of the book, literally on page 199, it has timings. Okay, like here's just to show you a recipe. This is for peanut butter cheesecake. Okay, fabulous. I don't know if you can see that, but fabulous. But in the back, it has timings, which is wonderful. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to see if I can get it close enough. Okay, but like for instance, I'll just read from it just to show you, give you an idea. If you want to make corned beef, okay, and your corned beef is between 2 and 3 pounds, let's say. You want to set your timer for 70 minutes, and you want to pressure cook it on high, and you want to release the pressure naturally. And you're like, okay, that makes sense, but what does naturally mean? Okay, there are two ways that you can release pressure in a pressure cooker. Natural release means that you allow your food to sit in your cooker for at least 10 minutes. And what happens is, as it's sitting in the cooker after it's completed its pressure cook cycle, the pressure is naturally dissipating or releasing. Okay? So typically, usually after 10 minutes, then what you're going to do is, like I showed you, you're going to push this little thing back to venting, and then all of the steam is going to come out, okay, off the top here. So that's natural release. Quick release means that as soon as the uh, pressure cook cycle is finished, you're gonna slack this back here, and it's gonna release, you know, immediately without letting it sit in the cooker. Now, one thing I will tell you, whether you natural release or quick release, you want to make sure that you're not standing directly in front of the steam as it comes out, because it is very hot. Steam is an excellent conductor of heat. You also want to make sure that you're wearing mitts or some type of protection for your hands, because again, it's very, very hot and very quick. Okay. So that's what it means when it says natural release or quick release. Okay. Another note that you want to consider when pressure cooking is that because it cooks so much faster, 70% faster, in fact, than your standard stovetop or oven cooking, um, it's going to infuse flavor throughout your food. So, when you are preparing your food for pressure cooking, you want to season it liberally. In other words, this is a time that you don't want to be scared. Go ahead and season it liberally, because all of that flavor is just going to be infused and come back in spades when it's done. So, and use your liquid also as a flavor booster. That's why, like I said, I'll use broth or marinade or, better than bouillon, things of that nature, to impart flavor on top of flavor on top of flavor on top of flavor. Um, because it's just steam is a wonderful conductor. So it's really going to impart that flavor very, very quickly. So season your food liberally. Don't be afraid. Um, and also, you want to take the time after you've seasoned your food liberally to go ahead and brown it, because browning again just kind of locks in that flavor. It's another just, flavor conductor for your food. So, you know, don't be afraid in that regard, because your taste buds will only thank you later. It's just fabulous. Um, and just to give you an idea of just how much faster your pressure cooker will cook your food, um, I made the very first thing I did in my pressure cooker, because I love macaroni and cheese, is I made a 6 quart vat of macaroni and cheese with raw pasta in 6 minutes. Literally, in 6 minutes, I was eating my macaroni and cheese from start to finish. And it was good because, again, I used chicken broth as the liquid requirement. And so it infused the chicken broth flavor into my macaroni and cheese, which I loved. And it was fabulous. 2 days ago, I made a meatloaf in this pot right here. And it was fabulous because it infused moisture, and it took me about 25 minutes. Then I steamed some broccoli. And so I had broccoli, and then I made some rice, and I had my pressure cooker meatloaf, broccoli, and rice. And it was fabulous. All in one pot. It was great. So you can be as creative as you like, and just think about all the time that you will have saved and earned back, because you can live your life, spend time with your family. And especially, there was a time when I wouldn't get off from work until, like, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And then I had to cook. And don't get me wrong, slow cooking is great, but, um, you know, um, the great thing about pressure cooking is that it can cook those slow foods fast with the same flavor profile, and you don't have to worry about, oh my god, I forgot to take some food out, because you really don't want to put frozen food into a slow cooker. Now, there's some people that are, will disagree with me, but you really don't want to do that, because you're just extending the time that it takes your slow cooker to actually come to simmer point. And lovely things that will make you very, very sick have simmer uh, or perfect times too. So you don't want bacteria and things in your food. But pressure cooking, because it cooks so fast, you can put your frozen uh, chicken in here, and it'll you know cook it just as fast, because it uses the power of steam. And because steam is such an excellent conductor of heat, you don't have to worry about it coming to simmer point. Now, having said that, this instant pot is also can also slow cook. um, you know, it's also a rice cooker, things of that nature. But I'm going to tell you right now, and this is another thing, you may disagree with me, but you don't buy a pressure cooker to slow cook. You buy a pressure cooker to pressure cook, bar none. Okay. Um, so if you're one that all you do is slow cook, that's your jam, then, you know, don't buy an instant pot. Just buy a slow cooker. Not because instant pot can't slow cook, it can. But what you really buy an instant pot for is to pressure cook. Okay. Um, so I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat. Um, I also will tell you that once you try pressure cooking, you'll never want to go back to slow cooking, because you'll never want to wait 8 hours for that, you know, chili.